said, so I did this presentation not long ago for a group called Arquitectus Colectivos based out of Chicago, who I met through my SFX involvement at the national conference in San Francisco. So, and it's called Crafting a Thriving Practice with Diversity First. It's really telling the story of flow generally and how we got to where we are and how we operate as a diverse office. So you can see my screen, right? It's all good. Yes. Okay. So so the first question is like, what's the practice of architecture? Is what I would start wondering. And that's probably the first thing, right? I learned a lot about the practice of architecture or business of architecture from like Enoch Sears and many other people. Actually, I was interviewing. That's how you knew about me, Kyle, from Enoch Sears during the pandemic time. But the most important question is like, okay, is this the practice of architecture? Is this what we understand? Heavily male dominated and just people that draw, right? Is that what we do? Is that the practice? But I think more important question is, why is the practice of architecture? I think the why part is kind of the driving factor that I would want people to think about. Like, why is the practice of architecture? And at the end of the day, no matter how you slice it about people, it really doesn't matter how you can picture it. And at the end of the day, you're living something for humanity, living a better world for somebody else, solving somebody else's problem. Creating problems, solving problems. So at the end of the day, it just affects people, right? So, and this is, by the way, some of the groups from Arquitectos that I met at that San Francisco event. So if it is about people, then the practice first have to be profitable and sustainable, because then it wouldn't exist. It couldn't continue, right? It has to be adaptable, shifting trends, shifting needs, shifting world. But it actually also have to be diverse, because if you look at it as the macro, the big picture, diverse ecosystems survive and thrive from just a biological standpoint. So it must be that, so that it could actually serve, people. So, but how can we do that, right? So, Flow, I've been me and Marcos and my business partner have been very self-aware of what we do. Me as a person that worked at 5 or 6 or 7 different practices prior to being at Flow, I paid a lot of attention. And by the way, I keep telling people that Flow wasn't my first choice. Like having Flow, opening Flow wasn't really my first choice. I wanted to have a nice 9 to 5:30 job, go home, love my wife and my kids, and be happy. But it turned out that it was the only path I could find to be able to have the fulfilling practice and life that I wanted. So I looked at everybody else's mistakes within all of those offices. Try to fix them within. There was a lot of friction and pushback, and just decided to fix them on our own. So, and making action. So at Flow, we decided, okay, let's track from when we first get engaged into a project or the idea of a project to how we ended up or how we end up at the home base, whatever the way may be, right? How do we do a touchdown, right? So it's not for down. There's a lot of steps throughout the process, but we distilled a lot of the noise throughout the design process and business process, and try to make sure that we focus on the things that we could really quantify and control to solve everything else. So the first thing that we do is that we always do an initial consultation. And ensure that we have a very clear agreement on our services. And then we have a very clear process, so that people know what they're gonna get at the end of the day and how they're gonna get it. So the initial consultation is paid. We don't do anything for free. Even when Flow started out of my basement, we said, nope, no unpaid internships, no unpaid anything. We're not doing that. So super difficult having a little, basement and and the struggles of a new father and another one coming, because I had another baby coming. So it was so we decided nothing free. And it created a basically consultation fee. And I would challenge people on pushbacks that I have gotten when I talk to other people about, oh, well, everybody else does it for free, so then I'm not gonna be. So that premise it should be challenged with what you bring as a professional into the table. Just breathing the same oxygen that you are breathing should be a benefit to whoever is with you at the end of the day. So what we learned, we lost a lot of people. It looked like we lost a lot of clients at that beginning, but what and then we changed it. We said no fees for a little while because we were trial and error, right? I didn't know how, the other firms didn't do consultation fees. So we were like, then we were like, no. I think we should reestablish the fee again. After we learned that waiving that fee was bringing about a kind of client, or a kind of project, or a kind of engagement that wasn't healthy from the very beginning. It was just not healthy. So, and then we kind of did that again and said, nope, we're going to do our fee and make sure that we can serve people and that we can feel, it's just self-worth, right? Like we feel valued. I love it,
What made those connections unhealthy to you?
So
if that's not too sensitive to share.
So at the end of the day, we were getting a lot of like tire kickers, right, or tire spinners or whatever, like people that were just like thinking or playing with the idea of a project, and we would go there, drive for miles, and then walk out and feel like. And then do an agreement, send the agreement, and get nothing. And it just felt like, wow, I went there. I'm a summa cum laude graduate that knows about design, that cares about architecture and design, and I have 2 kids to feed, and I'm gonna tell my wife that there was nothing out of this, and not even an email back. It just felt bad. So at the end, I said, well, listen, you at least are gonna pay for my gas. Let's start there. At least you're gonna pay for my gas. And again, it's very emotional because as small practices, our business is very intricately connected to us. So me not being able to tell my wife, ex-wife now, but at that time, that like, what was it? How'd it go? Well, I didn't even get $50. I didn't even get $100. Like it was nothing, and then nothing. So it just felt unhealthy. The other way also, and now that's me, the Darwin, listening and thinking back on 17, 18. So, but now as I grew, as a person, I was like, well, the other thing is, the value I'm bringing, but also if you can't do that fee, you can't do this project. It was like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then you probably won't do all of this. So I don't think you're gonna do $1 million home if you can't pay somebody, that's gonna be very intricately connected with you in your life, $100 or $200 to go see your project. Right? That was like already kind of like, it was creating a problem, right? Like it was creating a expectation problem, and I wanted to set the expectations that things aren't free right away. Nothing is free, right? I got student loans to pay. I have kids to feed. I have a mortgage to pay. So, and then in that, the clients that were very agreeable and happy to that, they were great. So the ones that were always pushing back, they were personally horrible. Like horrible in every single way that you could possibly humanly think as an individual. So I'm like, well, I don't want to say bad things about clients, but every time I was like, I regret that. So looking into the pattern thing that I mentioned earlier, that I'm always looking at patterns, I was looking at how was that process from the very beginning to the end. Wow, that was so nice. But from the very beginning, they were very nice about all of this. They never had a question about any of that. They understood that cost money. So all of that was great. The ones that then, like literally put it in a box and say, well, they all turned out to be horrible. About 90% of them. So it was just simple. There was some that, and that's another one. There was one particular, and I remember it because that's another thing, being very self-aware. They push back on that and they say we never pay consultation fees for anything to anyone. The situation was that I waived the fee when did the initial walkthrough, and check this out. It was a project, a young couple, just by the background and the place they lived and the demographic, wealthy 1%ers. I go there. And he had a Zoom meeting. He was walking around with his headphones, with his Zoom meeting for a big thing, for a CEO. The wife was walking around with something else, with her yoga pants. And I felt like I didn't matter. Like I was there and I did not matter. right? If they would have been paying me, like from the very beginning, I actually gave up on the bargain already by waiving the fee and accepting this, and they telling me that their project is gonna be very important for me. It started to immediately engage. It looked like I want to help you people, and I'm like, what do you mean, you people? Right? Like everything started to be like, I am a minority. Like I don't like to look at my skin. My project is my life, and I love you for it, and thank you for this opportunity. Well, no. Wait a minute. Whatever you went to school, I probably went there too. And whatever your graduation score was, I probably beat it. So at the end of the day, let's break down the fact that I am important. You're gonna listen to me, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to solve you a problem, right? So the entire that one I will always remember it. Oh my gosh, it was a bizarre. Do you know what I did? I literally emailed and said, "I'm sorry, we're not a good fit." They were gonna, I did write the contract and all that. And I was like, as I was writing the contract, 5 p.m., I was like, I may regret this. It was like pandemic times, broke, no, not a lot of projects. But I think I may regret more working with them every single day, knowing that I'm gonna hate every second. So I just said, nope, no thanks. They were very insulted, but it felt nice. It really felt nice because it was the first time I rejected somebody. I was not the one rejected. So,
Marco, and I hope you don't mind like sharing all of this. You're definitely speaking to the choir here. I definitely feel you on all of these things. So I hope this was part of your presentation and not a major like sidetrack from it.
No, the presentation is what you want it to be. That's it. We're flowing in here, so we're good. Thank you so much. So that's when the other thing is, so that's when we divided our services. We generated 3 levels of services. Why? Because we, as minorities, I always think, would my mom hire me? And it's like, well, my mom probably wouldn't, because architecture is something for the rich and the wealthy, and even it doesn't matter where you are from. It's the same thing. It's the elites that hire architects everywhere, right? Like whoever can afford that. Here is a little bit more affordable, but I wanted to be able to, all of us, and I say I, but I'm meaning Flow, like the team, the cohorts of Flow, wanted to reach as much people as possible and be able to still be profitable and impactful. So we generated 3 levels of services. And those are for like the people that cry. It's like, well, that's a lot of money and this and that. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, why don't we take off X, Y, and Z from your levels of services and we put you into the Doric? And it made sense because just looking at these sketches, it's like, well, definitely that Corinthian looks a lot more elaborate than that Doric. So it kind of makes, at the end of the day, I wanted to know that people get what they pay for. End of the story. And we're very thorough about it. We explain it from the very beginning. All of these people, as soon as they say hi, Flow, welcome, we tell them all that. We have it recorded on YouTube. We share it. So they know what we're dealing with. So, and that helped us. So going back, that helped us know, one, not lose a lot of projects, know where people are at from the very beginning, and immediately associate it with the right team and the right level of service, and make sure that, again, we wanted, and that I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but to increase diversity in the field of architecture and design, we have to train the next generation of those diverse architects. So having different levels of services makes it so that while they're on this step of their growth in their careers, they can quickly, they can pick up those projects and still be profitable. All right. So the other thing that we did, clear tracking and billing of services. So we developed a system that literally, we know what level of service you are. We know what you're getting. You're never getting more than that. So we created this design process. So unless they pay extra. So define is existing conditions. After our initial consultation and they sign a contract and they provide a deposit, we don't do anything. Those 2 things have to be checked off. By the way, there is a checklist that every member of Flow has. That is the opposite of this, meaning Darwin Fortuna assigned you project 223334. Do you have a signed agreement on your desk? Check. Did you read the agreement? Check. So everybody has to do that. Was there a deposit, provided already? Check. Work on the project, right? So then we have a training that's associated with that. So we go through this 4-step process. I'm gonna make it quick for the interest of time. So we go through this 4-step process, and and we have them sign at each step once it's completed. Meaning existing conditions, survey of the lot, all the information I understand to be true, the neighborhood. I make sure that's not the wrong lot or the wrong property. All the stuff's great. Sign off. Yep. And it's like, does this generally represent your project? Great. And I always make the metaphor of like, if you go to a doctor and you're going to get surgery, they do a checkup on your blood work and everything. State of the Union. What do we understand all of us to be true? This is a fact. Sign. Great. Then move forward to step 2. Vision board. It's not my project. It's your project. So therefore, you provide me a vision for what it is that you think this should be like. And write down, so pictures and words. What does that mean? 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. Now I'm using the residential side because we do 60% residential, but the other 40% might be 5 offices, a gym, a mother's room for, an office or whatever. So they put all of that in there. And we do, like when you're shopping at Amazon, you may also like these. Another sheet that says, we think you also like all of this. Is that true? Yes. If they sign yes, we can play with both of those concepts, and where probably Flow may also want to lean towards too, to generate 2 design options. We may do 10, we only show them 2. And that moves on to the next step. Nobody designs anything until 1 and 2 are checked off. So once step 2 is signed off, the office starts sketching. By the way, we have emails already, forms of emails for all of these steps, pre-written. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. You just send. That's it. Like everything. We edit things because not everybody fits within this group, but that's the exception, not the norm. So then they do the 2 design options, and we present the 2 design options. They have 7 days to pick one or the other. One with changes, a combination of them, and one with something else that was still in the agreement from the very beginning. If it's something else that wasn't on the initial agreement, it's an additional service. So they can't just be like, oh, I don't like it. Well, wait a minute. So it means either, the way I see it is, it means either you have amnesia and everything you told me on step 2 is not true. Maybe we have the wrong law. It means something else went wrong on the first steps. Or the State of the Union changed, meaning there was this client who was doing everything around her significant other. She was doing this beautiful house in Ipswich, and they broke up. At that same stage, they broke up. So it was like, I hate that, man. Everything, it was very, very personal. But we're like, well, unfortunately, you were doing this garage and all these things, and it was all about him. So now we have to do it all. We can't there's not like a minor little window move here and there. No, it was like, so they had to pay for the entire design process over again. But we tracked it, and it was easy to track. There was another fatal situation too, where it was all about their mother-in-law and father-in-law moving in, and they actually passed away. So a lot of that step died. So we had to redo. But maybe also that they have a hard time making their minds. They went to Italy and saw something, and they went to Spain and saw something. It's like, whoa. You didn't tell me any of that. If it's something that's gonna take me a click, great, I'll do it. If it's something that's gonna take me more than a couple minutes, I'm gonna charge you for it, and I'll tell you how much it is before I start. Great, yes, go ahead. Okay. Then we send it again. It's true. It's actually everything. Yes. Then we move on to documents, write documents, set over, final payment. So then going back to the other part, how do we make it diverse? Right? It has to be diverse. So Flow is as diverse as it can get. So to make it diverse, we have to, 1, believe that there is a place for all of us within the industry, and that we all have an opinion and a voice that's valid, and we want to represent the communities themselves. Like Massachusetts is actually pretty diverse. So, but also it has to be profitable, and it goes back to the sustainable. So I saw this other way at a conference, and it's the fact that diverse teams, well managed, outperform any homogeneous team and any other team. Poorly managed, they're horrible. So we at work at Flow have developed, Monday meetings, Asana task lists, trainings and systems and processes, so that everybody is as well managed as they could possibly be. And the projects themselves become very diverse and interesting and fun because of that. The work itself is, some client from Ethiopia moved to the States and wants to be a new developer and wants this really interesting thing. We designed like 5 different options of this. He certainly paid for all of them. He ended up being this. Doesn't necessarily represent like Flow philosophy or Flow design. It's a hybrid of what the client wanted, what we did, and what ended up getting built, which is sometimes it's troublesome, right? The process is very difficult. This one, another one, right? They already had done many dental offices, and they hired us. This is the first commercial project we ever did. The first one I put my stamp on, and it was a commercial office. And this is another one, a diverse developer. He actually owns a body shop, and he wants to get into real estate. And look, this is the first project we did. Pretty cool. It took a little while, pandemic times, flood zone, zoning, conservation. But again, we are also coaching them and training them, but we also anticipate that from the very beginning. Because when I go to meet the client for the first time, I am in my mind thinking, well, there's levels of services, but there's also levels of training of this client that I'm going to have to do. So I'm going to put that on my contract. certainly I'm going to put that on my contract. And these are the, amazing clients that we get. This is another amazing client that we get. This is the first residential project we ever did, this garage. And that client recommended me to this one. So it's pretty cool. Good clients give offsprings of good clients. So this is pretty good. So the financials, that proves that what I'm saying works. So 2017, basement, Asian, Mexican, and Dominicans together in a little tight room. 2020, actually we moved in 2018 to this space, but that's just me pointing to major timelines. Moved to a new space. We went from 3 to like 8. 2023, we just recently renovated. Actually, so our first year on our new space that we renovated and did ourselves. And we're 12 now. So the numbers, these numbers may not be too big for you guys because within the Boston metro area, I know the fees are different. The structures are different. But we started with me quitting my job and probably the cost of my divorce to make $26,000 that year, to then go to $58,000 in 2018 and 38 projects. To 2019, $244,000. To 2020, to $464,000. To 2021, to $800,000. To 2022, last year, we did like a pop the champagne. We crossed the $1 million threshold. For big firms, it's like pathetic to look at this. It's super pathetic. They wouldn't take a job that isn't 1.3 million. But for us, that's meaningful and impactful, and we're crafting the next generation of architects. We're writing a legacy. That's kind of why we won last year, the AIA Film Challenge. It was tied to our legacy. And the communities that we touch. I don't care how many towers the big firms are doing, because in the collective realm of things, I have touched complete neighborhoods and complete cities, and there is a flow design flag within everywhere, right? So that's cool that I could drive anywhere and find a project that I have done. Like, that's pretty cool. And that 1.3, I bring it back up. That was a big deal. And we are basically just like, we were only on the 80% residential world. And now it's changing. Now it's 60-40. But the pandemic was a great opportunity for us too, because everybody wanted to do something in their homes other than fighting. So people wanted to do things, right? So, and then we opened this place. Grand opening, won the AIA Film Challenge, and really that's our legacy. Changing that to something like this, to a more diverse, touching communities, something that small firm can do. Like, big firms aren't really being as impactful as Flow Design is. I'll tell you that's a fact, because I worked at 7 other big firms. And it doesn't work like that, right? So we go to preschools, middle schools, and high schools, and we love it. Next week, we're going to go to another daycare to talk to other children too, to change that. And daycares in locations where they don't even know what an architect is. Most people don't, but these ones have an advantage. They already met one firsthand, and it looks like them, right? Which is really good. So we go to also developing countries and do donations to those developing countries. Because the dollar does make a big difference in some places. Places that don't have bathrooms, that they won't go to school because they don't have a notebook, right? So we did that, and we're very proud and happy to have connected with many communities within the Dominican Republic, in this case, to actually go there and donate and make a difference. And they insisted that there was some face to the notebooks or some note so that they knew where it came from. And I made sure they said, it's coming from an architect, and you can be the architect of your own destiny. That's the phrase that it says, which is pretty fitting. And that's it. That's us, a lean team. Now we have a media crew. Now we actually had him part-time. Now we're going to have him just on a case by case, because it was hard to afford a whole media team for a whole year, but it proved to work. And that's it. So any questions you may have, I'm